Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today a brand new update just went live here in Black Ops 4. This is the update that Treyarch has been teasing over the course of the last week or so, and what it did is it readjusted pretty much every score streak in the game, it rebalanced a few weapons in multiplayer, it updated the black market, which we will be discussing at length here in this video, as well as it added a couple of crash fixes to the zombies game mode. Well, I say a couple of crash fixes, but actually added a bunch of fixes to the zombies game mode, and I have a feeling that they aren't done yet. This was also the update if you play on the Xbox One or the PC that added the Nuketown multiplayer map, the Nuketown Zombies Blackout event, as well as Blackjack's shop to the game. So if you play on either of those platforms, the wait is finally over. Here in this video, I'm going to be covering all of the major changes that occurred with today's update, starting things off here with the score streaks. One of the biggest community requests has finally gone through. The care package entry and exit speeds have been increased on every single map in the game. Now, a quick bit of feedback on this. I always assumed that the long care package times here in Black Ops 4 were actually intentional on the part of Treyarch. I planned to make an entire video talking about this, but I never got around to it because I wasn't sure the best way to test it and the best way to present it. But going into today's update, I always thought that the care package was the best streak in Black Ops 4 when you talk about cost versus value. And the reason why is because for some reason, the chances of you getting something good from a care package, like a Hellstorm or a Mantis or a Thresher or something high like that, it seemed like those chances were really high for some reason. So I always assumed that Treyarch made the entry times really long as a way to compensate for that. It's harder to get your care package and it takes longer to come in, but it's worth it most of the time once it actually gets in, especially if you're using Engineer. Well, it turns out I was probably right about that, because to go along with all these updates to the entry and exit speeds, Treyarch also lowered our chances at getting high-end score streaks out of care packages. I would say that's a pretty fair deal, all things considered, and I'm interested to see if people are going to start running care packages more or less after today's update. Moving along, Treyarch has also decided to adjust pretty much every other score streak in the game. So for starters, we now only get plus 10 score from a score streak kill, which is down from the plus 25 that we had previously. I believe this is because they want kills and objective play to actually get you earning your score streaks rather than letting your streaks earn your streaks, but I'm not really sure how necessary this was, right? Because let's say hypothetically you were running the attack helicopter and the strike team. For your attack helicopter to get you your strike team before today's update, you would need to find a really good hiding spot and have your helicopter get you 6 kills, which isn't unheard of, but it's not like it happens every single time you call one in, right? But after today's update, for that same scenario to occur, you have to have your helicopter get you 15 kills, which is pretty much impossible, right? So the score you get from your streaks now is little more than token points to make you feel like you're actually earning something when you actually aren't, because after today's update, 10 score streak kills now equals the amount of score of 1 player kill, which is definitely pretty interesting. They also decided to readjust the cost of several score streaks as well, with some of these streaks now costing more than they did before, and some of them costing less than they did before. The streaks that now cost less include the Dart, the Lightning Strike, the Sentry, the Sniper's Nest, as well as the Thresher. Each one of those streaks has had their cost reduced by 50 points, but the following streaks were changed to cost more. The RCXD now costs 500 points, which is up from 450. The Hellstorm now costs 950 points, which is up from 850. The Mantis now costs 1,100 points, which is up from 1,050. And the Attack Helicopter now costs 1,300, which is up from 1,200. I believe Treyarch's goal with these changes was to make it so the weaker streaks cost less and the stronger streaks cost more. This artificially buffs up the weaker streaks by making them appear more and be easier to obtain, while also artificially nerfing the stronger streaks by making them harder to get without actually making them any weaker. This is definitely an interesting way to rebalance the streaks here in Black Ops 4, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about these changes down there in the comment section below. Moving away from score streaks, we have a couple of weapons that were also changed in today's update. The ABR-223 had its recoil reduced, as well as its 4-shot kill range increased, which thank freaking goodness. That gun was absolutely terrible before, and I'm interested to see if it's going to be any better after these changes. I would assume, but I wonder how much better it is by only increasing its 4-shot kill range by a small amount and reducing recoil. And the Swordfish also had its recoil reduced as well, so both of those tactical rifles are now a little bit better after today's update than they were previously. But that pretty much does it for the multiplayer side of things. Like I said, there were lots of zombies crash fixes that were added, but in terms of multiplayer balance changes, that pretty much does it for today's update. Now let's go ahead and talk about the black market changes that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. And honestly, I have so much to say about this, I could probably make an entire other video, but instead I'm going to put it here at the end of this one. So if you play on the Xbox One or the PC, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you play on the PlayStation 4, then you probably noticed that two, and I'm going to use this term loosely, new weapon variants appeared on the black market today. These variants come as part of a $20 bundle, and they are the exact same variants that people either already own or have owned in the past. The Divinity variant of the Strife was supposed to be a pre-order exclusive for people who got the game at GameStop. The people who decided to pre-order Black Ops 4 at GameStop probably did so because they wanted that very specific weapon variant, and now anybody can purchase it via the black market. And the other weapon variant, of course, would be the Carbon Cobra Maddox, which at one point was in the inventory of every single Black Ops 4 player before they took it away from us. Now, yes, in the interest of fairness, we didn't really do anything to earn the Carbon Cobra variant, but one day we all signed in and it was on our accounts. We had it, we were able to play with it. In fact, the gameplay you guys are watching was from when the weapon was actually available to everybody, but as you guys know, a couple of days later, they took that weapon variant away from us. We all kind of knew that it would eventually appear in the black market, but appearing as part of a $20 bundle is absolutely freaking absurd. Now, again, also in the interest of fairness, we aren't talking about $20 for just two weapon variant appearances, right? As you guys know, variants here in Black Ops 4 also come with reactive camos and Mastercraft camos, which in and of themselves count as several exclusive camos, but even then, $20 is pretty freaking absurd if you think about it. For context, Black Ops 4 is a $60 game that is broken up into three major modes: Blackout, Multiplayer, and Zombies. It could be argued that each of these modes is therefore valued at $20, which means that these two weapon variants are the same price as the rest of the Black Ops 4 multiplayer. Not to mention, with these now being exclusively available for COD points, that means that these variants will never be able to be unlocked any other way. You have to purchase them if you actually want access to them, and you guys thought it was bad when certain weapon variants were locked behind the Battle Pass, behind 100 hours or 200 hours of in-game playtime. Well, now we have these weapon variants that aren't available at all unless you decide to purchase them. Now, I'm no fortune teller, right? But I have been following the Call of Duty franchise incredibly closely for over a decade now, and honestly, it's getting pretty easy to predict this kind of stuff, right? So, the current operation, which is Operation First Strike, is set to end in 23 days if you play on the PlayStation 4, and a little bit longer for the Xbox One and the PC. This means that in about 23 to 30 days, a new operation is going to begin, which also means that new weapon variants are likely going to be tied to that new operation, just like they did with this one. So, we're going to be getting more weapon variants in the future that we can probably obtain for playing the game, but there's also going to be even more variants that are going to be exclusively locked behind the black market, right? All I can say is I'm not surprised by this really whatsoever. Activision has been pulling this kind of stuff for years now, and they do it in a slightly different way each time around, right? This time, they claim that they're listening to the community and making it so we can directly purchase the content that we want, but they severely overprice that content while also making it grindier than it was before, while also not fixing the core problems with the system. As of right now, we have three weapon variants that can be earned via the Battle Pass. You can earn these variants by grinding the game. It takes a very long time. The first one takes about 50 hours, the second one's about 100 hours, and the third one's about 200 hours, but you can earn them by playing the game, right? We have two new variants I just talked about here that can only be purchased from the black market unless you pre-ordered one of them from GameStop. We have another one that can only be obtained from supply drops, and then another variant that can only be accessed if you obtained the digital Deluxe Edition of Black Ops 4. This means that less than half of the variants in this game are directly earnable, but like I said, I'm not surprised by this whatsoever. This is Activision we're talking about here. As if all of that was not enough, as a way to impress their investors for having longer player retention, which is artificial by the way, they made it so when you buy these variants, you still need to grind out levels in the Battle Pass. Now, ignoring the upcoming Quad Feed event, which I'm very excited for, but ignoring that for a second and going off of the base numbers, this means that if you buy this bundle here to get the Divinity version of the Strife and the Carbon Cobra version of the Maddox, you have to pay $20 for the privilege to then play the game for 13 hours to unlock both of the variants, right? In the case of the Strife Divinity, you only have to play for 1 hour to unlock that one, but in the case of the Carbon Cobra Maddox, you need to play 13 hours after spending your $20. Think about that. 13 hours is pretty much the entire length of a Prestige if you're a good player, right? Some people it takes even longer than that because depending on the game mode, XP is a lot different, right? It takes 13 hours to unlock a variant that you spent $20 on. You basically need to go through an entire Prestige. That is so freaking absurd, and not to mention it's twice as bad for those of you who got the game at GameStop, right? Because you already have the Strife Divinity, which means you're paying $20 and playing 13 hours just to unlock only the Maddox variant. What in the actual is going on here? Is this system actually better than supply drops? Because I suppose it still is, but that might be exactly what Activision wants us to be thinking right now, right? They may be pushing this obviously terrible system on us, so fans say that they want the old school supply drop system to come back, which would start the entire process over again. Keep in mind here, guys, Activision always turns up the microtransactions after the holiday season, and it's not even Thanksgiving yet, so if you think what they're doing now here in November is bad, imagine what they're going to be doing once January rolls around. I guess we now know why Treyarch has been teasing this week's update and events so much. It's because they wanted to soften the blow for this big black market update, which is currently live on the PlayStation 4 and will likely be coming to the Xbox One and the PC at some point next week. Now, one final note before I wrap up the video here today. This patch, while it did have a bunch of bug fixes and a bunch of changes to the multiplayer, it did nothing to fix the reset bug or the XP bug that I discussed in both of my last two videos. I think Prestige's Key said it best in his video when he said, "It seems like the actual game is taking a back seat to microtransactions and DLC right now." And yes, I agree that Treyarch has been making a lot of updates as of recently, but it's clear that they pushed out an unfinished game early to get ahead of other games like Red Dead and Fallout and Battlefield 5, and here we are over a month later and we still have tons of problems and tons of issues that need to be resolved, all the while they're pushing these microtransactions down our throats. Now, don't get me wrong here, guys, I'm no idiot, right? I've been following the games industry for a very long time. I understand that the art team is a much different team than the people who are actually working on the code, right? I get that the people working on spawn logic and weapon balance are completely different than the people who are working on reactive camos and stuff like that, but still, it does not take away from the fact that they are pushing these incredibly expensive and grindy weapon variants on us in a game where there is still a glitch that can reset all of your progress. Imagine doing that for a moment, just for a second, if you guys could. Imagine buying this $20 variant here, playing 13 hours all in one session, grinding out your entire Saturday to get all this done, and then you find out that your black market bugged out and reset all that progress and you have to go and do it again. That could actually happen. That does happen on a daily basis here in Black Ops 4 to people all around the world, and Treyarch hasn't even acknowledged it so far, and they also haven't acknowledged the XP bug whatsoever, which is currently going on. So don't get me wrong here, guys. I like Black Ops 4. I really do like this game. From a gameplay perspective, Black Ops 4 is incredible. Top 5 CODs, definitely. I'm not going to be ranking it right now. I still plan to do like a full review of the game here relatively soon. But the gameplay is incredible. The core game is awesome. But I think we can all agree that from a technical perspective, Black Ops 4 has been a huge dumpster fire ever since launch, and I'm very interested to see how things are going to play out from here. But as always, I will keep you guys posted with more details as they become available. Remember that tomorrow marks the beginning of the Quad Feed event for all platforms, which means double tier progress, double experience in multiplayer, double merits in Blackout, as well as double plasma in Zombies. The event will be running all the way until Monday, November 26th, and who knows, maybe Treyarch will drop another surprise update on us between now and then. And as always, I will will keep you guys posted, but as of right now, that's all I have for you guys here in this video. Leave all your thoughts and feedback on today's news down there in the comment section below. Thank you guys all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.